Another video, another topic, but I guess it's becoming quite apparent that I keep talking about the same thing here, and I'm just using different ways to explain the very same thing. So today, uh, we can start with Fibonacci. I guess most of us are familiar with the Fibonacci sequence. Starts with 1, 1, 2, 4, and it goes on and on. And the Fibonacci sequence or Fibonacci frequency, Fibonacci spiral, like the Fibonacci spiral. Well, it could go on and on and on. Let's put some more in there, but it's just what we've been talking about in the previous videos about the spiral being the world. So we could call this the Fibonacci, like this reality we might call the Fibonacci world, as in the spiral. And I try to explain what I mean by this reality being the Fibonacci world. So, okay, so uh, it's the sequence world spiral, but it's also a frequency. So okay, Fibonacci sequence is often presented as a way to demonstrate how everything is created in this reality. Like you would see the Fibonacci sequence, the Fibonacci spiral manifest in the in nature, in animals, in humans, in all of our like biology, geography, like in everything you could see that there's the Fibonacci manifesting, and it's often presented in a way that once you understand the Fibonacci, then you kind of have the understanding of this reality. And I'm not denying that that's not the case, because there is this reality and then there's other realities. But, or there's just this one reality, but there is multiple definitions and ways of looking at it. Okay, let's start. Like Fibonacci, like if you take the Fibonacci as the sole or the single most important way to explain this reality, you only are going to get so far, and then you'll have to face it that it it kind of is incomplete. The world, the Fibonacci world is kind of incomplete. And why, or what makes me say that is, if you look at the sequence, the numbers that like create this world, it works in a way where the like it's about numbers, one one two one two. So and there's plenty of people explaining the Fibonacci, but I'm just putting my own spin on it because I see this quite differently, and this is just like the half of the what we're gonna be talking about today. So, but the Fibonacci is it is kind of a self-consuming it is a self-consuming structure. It's often used to describe creation, and that's why if you take the Fibonacci as the structure for creation, then you can use that to demonstrate what the so-called flower of life is. Like that's just one of the symbols. And as we've spoken about the symbols before, the symbols are just they can guide, but they cannot contain. So symbols are just symbols, not just, but but anyways, let's focus on the Fibonacci. So if we were to agree that Fibonacci is the answer for the creation of this reality, and again, I am agreeing with that being a great way to explain this reality, the reality that we are all experiencing right now. But this is not, like I said, it is still incomplete. So let's start to actually make some sense with that. So this world, Fibonacci world. First of all, okay, let's put some more context into this. Fibonacci sequence was, or the guy who came up with the whole Fibonacci sequence was called, he was called Leonardo of Pisa. And Pisa is the town in Italy where we all know that there's the so it is the leaning tower that the town of Pisa is the mostly known of. And so what brings Leonardo, okay, so the Fibonacci sequence was created or discovered by the sequence was by this dude, Leonardo of Pisa. And if you go and try to find who actually built or who was the grand architect of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you will just end up having some guesses, there is no definite answer who actually was the architect. There are like just guesses, but if you look into Leonardo of Pisa and kind of the timeline, then you kind of and it doesn't really matter if it was the Leonardo of Pisa who built the Leaning Tower, but why I'm even bringing the Leaning Tower of Pisa into this is because, and this is just my interpretation of this whole thing. Nothing more. I don't believe there's anybody talking about this with the Fibonacci, or why the what the meaning of the Leaning Tower of Pisa is. But let's keep plowing ahead. So Leonardo of Pisa came up with the Fibonacci sequence, and in the town of Pisa there is the Leaning Tower that we're all familiar with. So I guess the official story of the tower would be that the foundation gave in, and that caused the tower to have that 4-degree tilt. But there's actually no proof of the foundation ever like there ever was there's no proof that there was ever anything wrong with the foundation of the tower. So to me, and this is just, and it doesn't matter, it's just I'm using this as a way to explain the Fibonacci sequence and why the Fibonacci sequence is not the complete spiral world of the infinite creation. It is very much the finite creation. Okay, so the Leaning Tower of Pisa is the symbol of what happens when you create just using the Fibonacci sequence. And it is, like I said, the Fibonacci sequence works. It's a self-destructive sequence. The one is eaten by the following one. The 2 gets eaten by the 4. So it's always consumed. It's self-consuming sequence. So instead of it ever being able to actually create anything, it creates cycles that gets destroyed eventually. Like it can only, it's unsustainable creation. It is unsustainable creation, and that's what the Leaning Tower of Pisa symbolizes. Because it's if you were to build the tower any taller than what it is now, there would be a tipping point somewhere along the way where that weight on the top would just make the whole thing collapse. And that's what happens with the Fibonacci sequence every single time, in every single way. If you use the Fibonacci sequence to create something, it is bound to be destroyed in the end. So this is like the maximum height that they were able to build that tower. If they would have gone any taller or any higher, the tipping point would have just made the whole thing collapse. And that's what this is the symbol of using the Fibonacci as the creation. And this, like I said, with the I'm not gonna even start to draw the flower of life, what is usually seen as like in the spirituality, it's usually used as something like the most divine thing. But if you actually understand what the flower of life is and why once it's based on the Fibonacci sequence, it becomes the daisy of doom, or you can see how that is not sustainable. And the Fibonacci also leads into the Merkaba cubes, which is very often displayed as the highest form of human experience in this reality. So we can talk about the Merkaba cubes and flower of lives at another date, but all of those examples are just, or all those are just examples of how the Fibonacci is not sustainable. So the just like the yin and yang, this thing that we've been talking about before, this is based on the Fibonacci sequence as well. And everything I'm talking about like right now is, I'm not saying there's anything bad about the Fibonacci or the yin and yang or even the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's actually quite a nice place to visit. But it is just me demonstrating how this reality is based on this concept, a concept of a frequency sequence that kind of eats itself eventually. Like if we were to let's talk about ancient civilizations like Atlantis, how it was created, and it started out like what the like how the Fibonacci always starts out. It starts it kind of starts to create something, but eventually the longer it continues, it will not be sustainable. And that's why all the ancient civilizations have collapsed, or they have been destroyed or whatever, but they have not been sustainable. So the yin and yang, like to everything I'm talking about here, there is a counterpart, and if we just were to focus on this side of things, we wouldn't have the understanding of why this always leads, like it is just like a continuous cycle. Like something starts here and it kind of lands on in the same place again, but then it starts again, just like life begins and then there's death and life begins, then there's death, life begins, there's death, and it goes on forever and ever. Uh, so so the Fibonacci is, or it can be used to explain how this physical reality, where there is so much destruction, and like there is creation, but there's also so much destruction. Like every something gets created, and another good way of what Fibonacci is our, like, we have to, or it seems like we have to consume others for us to survive. Like we have to eat food. Something has to be destroyed, killed for our food consumption so that we can live. And we need to use all the resources of this reality for things to continue, and the resources in the Fibonacci creation are always finite. They're not infinite. Like, yeah, I guess at this point we all know that everything is infinite eventually, but the experience can feel very finite, and that's because the Fibonacci is not sustainable. It is a self consuming sequence. It is a self consuming world. So, world. So, and that is another spiral. So, and like I said, yeah, this is just our experience. So let's put the flower of life is the daisy of doom. Like once you understand the flower of life, how it is just like a self-destructive, same as with the Merkaba cube, which is often displayed as the end all be all. This is it. This is like the highest understanding of human experience, or the consciousness having the experience through the human body. But even that follows the Fibonacci, and it's always bound to be destroyed, or there's going to be death, or so this kind of just showcases one side of a bigger picture. Like I would say that the if we were to say picture that there was a theater, and on a theater there is the stage. So I would say that whatever the creation is, the Fibonacci creation is, that would be the play on the stage. And that play would go on as long as the play would go on, and then it would end. Like no play, usually no play goes on forever. So that would be just something that is displayed on that stage in the theater. And once the play ends, the theater the theater still stands. So the like behind, it doesn't matter like how you, I don't want to put anything in a hierarchical way, or something is in front of something or below or above, or it's it just is on the same uh, level of consciousness. But if we use that reference as the Fibonacci just being that play on the stage in the theater, and after the play is done, the theater still stands, the stage is still there, and like this is just the play that has a beginning, but it also has an end. Fibonacci always consumes itself. Everything that is created eventually, like if we were to continue this, there would be the tipping point and the tower would collapse and crumble on itself. Everything that uses the Fibonacci, it is bound to be, there will be an end to that. And the flower of life, even as it's being displayed as the most beautiful thing, and how everything is connected and all that stuff, if you really look into it and you understand this and what the flower of life is and what the Merkaba cube and all that stuff is, which uses the Fibonacci, everything does the same thing. It has a beginning, it has an end. So this is not a way to say that this is bad. This is just to showcase what the Fibonacci is, what it actually means. I have, life works in this way. To most people, life still works in this way. So okay, so if we go back to the theater, and the Fibonacci play is over and the theater still stands, what is the theater? What could be the theater? What could how could we explain what the theater is? Like, if this comes and goes but the theater always stands, what would the theater be? And it is another world. And there's so many, I'm sure there's so many books and explanations of what we're talking about the Fibonacci and the actual theater, which is the we can call it the Krystal spiral. Krystal, I always like to steer away from trying to make anything sound religious, but Krystal is Christ all. And in Christ all, Krystal's spiral or sequence, Krystal world. If this is a self-destructive structure, this is for this is forever creative structure. And here we the next video will be about the 15 dimensions, and this is the key to understanding those 15 dimensions. But we're gonna be talking about those in the following video. But the like I said, I tend to steer away from anything, or I don't want to anything to be sounding religious, because it's really not. But if in the Fibonacci there is the yin and yang, which follows up the beginning and end structure, and then there's the flower of life. So in the Krystal spiral, Krystal spiral, there is some would call it the real flower of life, or some would call it the eternal life lotus. But anyways, it is just like, if you look into the so-called daisy of doom, how it's self-consuming, the eternal life lotus is forever expanding, forever creating more. Just as the world, the frequency, the spiral, it is forever expanding, forever creating. And these two actually, if you start from one, there's only one place, like if you go through the sequence of the numbers, there's only one place where these two meet up during their world's cycles, and it is at a number 144,000, which is the number we explained that in the previous videos. That's what you get, the 72,000 strands of DNA from your mother and 72,000 strands of DNA from your father, and once they become together, the masculine with the feminine is integrated. That's the ascension. But anyways, these two spirals only meet once during the whole sequence, and it's at 144,000. So take that, or just do whatever you want with that. So if there is the yin and yang in the Fibonacci, then in the Krystal spiral there's the not sure if I'm even able to draw it. I guess I was. It's a, yeah, you can look it up, but it is the Yan Yun. If this is the yin yang, there's many different ways to pronounce that. But anyways, so this is forever expanding, forever creating. This is a cycle of this is a repetitive cycle, just like life is with the birth, life, death, birth, life, death, birth, life, death, with the reincarnation, with the birth. It's following this concept. Whereas once we get to the 15 dimensions, we're gonna understand how limiting this kind of is. But this is the life experience, and like I said, this is the theater. The crystal world is the theater which houses or which lets the Fibonacci play be displayed on the stage. And it comes and goes, it comes and goes. But this always stays standing. So, whereas I guess the main thing in everything that I've tried to display in all of the videos so far is being just about the how everything actually, no matter how it can feel like it's on the outside, the experience are out of your jurisdiction. Everything happens, or everything that happens on the outside, you have no say in that. But once you start to understand that it is you who is creating everything, it is also you that is destroying everything. And then I guess the 15 dimensions kind of gives it even more depth in the understanding of I also don't like to use word journey or path as something that you would need to go from here to here, like from here to here, because there's only everything all happens only in the now. This all happens only in the now. So, like me trying to say that you need to work your way, you need to work your journey away from this evil. It's not evil, there's nothing, it's just the perception of what it is. But this always just comes with the beginning and end. This is forever expanding, forever creating. So that's the difference, and this will always stand when this ends. So yeah, so I guess the understanding of the 15 dimensions kind of I guess it explains it more in depth what it is to go from this Fibonacci world to the crystal world, Krystal world. And like I said, this is not a religious talk, but just now that we're talking about the Krystal, in this, when we start creating, so when we start create, or once we understand how the crystal spiral works, we will start to understand the creation of life. So this is called laminin. And as you can see, laminin. Well, okay, so yeah, getting ahead of myself. Laminin is the most important. Nothing is more important than anything else. It's everything is just as important. But I guess what I'm trying to explain is it is the most important protein that holds the cells, the souls together. And it looks like cross of the Christianity again. So laminin is the protein that holds everything together. Once the crystal spiral, the crystal world starts to create, it's through laminin. That is what holds everything together. And once you understand, we will break this down in one of the dimensional one of the well, maybe in the next video even, but like everything here has its own meaning. And like, okay, so let's say that it's been said that the Fibonacci, it's based on what Tesla and many others said, the 369, which is the key to the universe. I guess that's what it's being called, 369. Once you understand that, that's in here, 6 right here, 9 here, but this is part of the Fibonacci. So if you want to fully understand, you need to know what that is still missing, which is 12. 12 is gonna be right here. And once, but okay, we'll do that in a different video. But in the Fibonacci, even if you understand this will be incomplete. It's because there's like this all relies on the what is it called, the tree of life, the structure of what the Kabbalah is usually showcasing as the structure of this reality. And again, it is kind of the structure of this reality because it's based on the Fibonacci, but it is incomplete because in that tree of life there is the most important thing, the number of creation missing, which is right here. And I'm gonna explain that more in depth once we get to the dimensional stuff. But this works with this, but this doesn't. This will be incomplete here, and this is the theater, the actual structure that stands and expands and creates. And this is the so this is the finite experience that we are all experiencing right now, and this allows you to understand what the theater is, which is the infinite experience that we are experiencing. Does that, I don't know if that even makes sense, but yeah, that is the difference. So I'm not, like I said, not denying the importance of the Fibonacci or saying that it is false or it is a lie or any of that. It explains the finite life experience very well, but it's not the infinite creation. And you are the infinite having the finite experience, but there's nothing stopping you from understanding and knowing that you are the Krystal spiral, the Krystal world, having this finite experience. And once you kind of come from here to here, it's well, it is what it is. For all of us, it can be very different, but it might be very big change in the perception of this reality, this finite experience. So Fibonacci and Krystal world, Fibonacci world, Krystal world. And okay, yeah, so the laminin is what within all of us, the laminin holds every single cell together. In the universe, the laminin holds every single soul together. Cell is a individual soul. It is so as within, so without. It is the same thing, but the laminin, and this is not a fixed structure. It is just displayed in that way. But like I showed in the Scale of the Soul episode, this can be, it is very fluid structure. So, but this is, and all these points will be explained in a later video. But for people who are heavily focused just on the Fibonacci being the end-all be-all solution, like trying to understand that, and that's gonna be the key to the universe with the 396 sequence. That's gonna have a beginning and an end. Once you understand the sequence of creation, the infinite creation, then that spiral, that world will not have a beginning, or there never was a beginning, so there can never be an end. So, but we're gonna do a lot more on that sequence later, and we're gonna look into the laminin as we go through the 15 dimensions, and we might throw in some Yanyan stuff in there as well. So that was all kinds of weird stuff again. So I just want to thank you so much for watching.